It is said that the pen is mightier than the sword. But what if the pen could save a life? Night after night, word after word, a woman spun tales not to conquer kingdoms, but to delay her death. Welcome, fellow seekers, to Fata Morgana, where we journey through the echoes of memory, myth, and the pages of forgotten time. Today we open the gates to the eternal city of stories, the realm of Alf Laila wa Laila, known in the West as A Thousand and One Nights. A book without single author, a legacy without a fixed origin, a mirror of civilizations stitched together with dreams, fears, riddles, and wonders. Let us begin where all great stories begin, in peril. Once upon a time, in a land where the moonlight kissed desert sand, lived a sultan named Shahryar, betrayed by his queen. In rage, he vowed to marry a new bride each night and execute her by morning. But then came Scheherazade, the vizier's daughter, learned, eloquent, and wise. On her wedding night, she began a tale, unfinished by dawn. Curious, the sultan spared her for one night. And so, the stories unraveled, night after night, one after the other, until 1001 nights had passed, and her life was spared forever. This frame, poetic and haunting, is the skeleton upon which centuries of folklore hang. The exact origin of Alf Laila wa Laila is itself a story of shifting sands. The earliest roots can be traced back to ancient Persia in a lost text called Hazar Afsaneh, the Thousand Stories, compiled possibly as early as the 8th century. From there, tales spread through Arab merchants, Indian fables, Greek myths, and Mesopotamian legends. The earliest Arabic manuscript to use the phrase Alf Laila wa Laila dates to the 9th century during the Abbasid Caliphate, a time when Baghdad flourished as the intellectual heart of the Islamic Golden Age. The collection kept growing, absorbing stories like a river swallows tributaries. Sinbad the Sailor brings echoes of Indian maritime lore. Aladdin and Ali Baba, ironically, were not in the Arabic original. They were added by Anton Galland, a French Orientalist, in the early 18th century, based on Syrian oral tales. The famous jinns, flying carpets, talking birds, and enchanted caves, many were imported from Persian, Indian, and Turkic traditions. So what is Alf Laila wa Laila really? A literary palimpsest, a manuscript overwritten by time, led by civilizations, enriched by movement. To understand A Thousand and One Nights, one must understand the era in which it was written. The Abbasid Caliphate transformed Baghdad into a beacon of knowledge. It was the age of Bayt al-Hikmah, House of Wisdom, where scholars translated Sanskrit and Greek texts into Arabic, and where tales from China, India, and Byzantium were shared on spice routes and under desert stars. The stories reflect this cultural richness. They depict slaves and sultans, magicians and beggars, traders and scholars. They engage with themes of fate, justice, love, betrayal, punishment, and power, echoing the Quranic paraboles, Sufi metaphors, and Greek philosophical dialogues. They are not just tales, they are mirrors of Islamic cosmopolitanism and pre-modern globalization. But with time, the stories traveled west, and things changed. In 1704, Anton Galland published the first European translation, Le Mille et Nuit. It became a sensation, but Galland wasn't just a translator. He was an editor, and perhaps even a rewriter. His versions omitted erotic and violent content, reshaped morals, and added new tales never found in the Arabic manuscript. Western Europe fell in love with an imagined Orient, exotic, sensual, mystical, decadent. Edward Said, in his foundational work Orientalism, criticized how Alf Laila became a tool of colonial imagination, turning the East into a place of fantasy, to be conquered or admired from afar. But even this distortion is part of the paradox. In misreading the East, the West ensured its stories would never die. The way Scheherazade has been introduced in this story is nothing short of wonderful. Scheherazade is not merely a storyteller. She is a strategist, a survivor, and perhaps a revolutionary. She represents the power of intellect over violence, knowledge as salvation. Her name echoes across feminist theory, literary criticism, and Middle Eastern studies. In times of censorship, war, and suppression, Scheherazade has become a symbol of resilience, a woman who used art, not arms, to reshape destiny. Alf Laila has rippled through every realm of art. Rimsky-Korsakov's Scheherazade, 1888, is one of the greatest orchestral works in classical music. George Louis Borges, Italo Calvino, and Gabriel Garcia Marquez drew inspiration from its non-linear storytelling. The layered tales within tales influenced everything from Inception to the Arabian Nights on Broadway. In psychology, Bruno Bettelheim analyzed the tales in The Uses of Enchantment, showing how their archetypes help children grapple with fear and growth. Its format of an infinite loop of stories has made it a blueprint for modern storytelling. But as with all ancient texts that cross empires and centuries, controversies follow. Some scholars across the world have banned editions of the text for its eroticism or depiction of wine, magic, and immoral acts. Others argue that the Western framing of the stories erases Islamic, Persian, and Indian identities. And yet, the tales endure, banned in one library, celebrated in another. What can we learn from the Nights? Stories heal and preserve, just like Scheherazade saved her life. Through stories, nations, identities, and languages have survived through oral and written tales. Plurality is power. Alf Laila is proof that civilizations grow through exchange, not isolation. It's a patchwork of humanity stitched through trade, curiosity, and empathy. Finally, narrative shapes reality. Whether in politics, media, or culture, the one who tells the story controls the past, and perhaps the future. As AI begins to write poetry and digital archives scan forgotten manuscripts, new versions of Alf Laila or Layla may yet emerge. In 2008, a new 18th century manuscript was discovered in Syria, featuring stories unknown in the Galland edition. Scholars now believe there is no definitive version of the Nights, and perhaps never was. In that, it mirrors our world, always changing, always being retold. Could we perhaps one day program a digital Scheherazade, an AI trained on every tale of human history, feeding the world one story a night? Maybe, but even then, the essence will remain the same. A voice in the dark, buying another day, with nothing but a tale. So when you next hold a book, listen to a podcast, or watch a film, ask yourself, who is Scheherazade today? And what story is she telling to save the soul of the world? This was Fata Morgana, where myths are maps and stories never truly end. Subscribe, reflect, and let the tale continue.